Russian state media reporting that opposition leader Alexei Navalny, one of Vladimir Putin's most persistent critics, has died in prison at age 47.
In a statement, Russia's Federal Penitentiary Service said Navalny lost consciousness and died after a walk. The prison service said an investigation is underway to establish the cause of death. Navalny was sentenced last August to 19 years in an Arctic penal colony, Russia's harshest prison, on charges of extremism and fraud.
The charges were widely seen as retribution for Navalny's campaigns against election fraud and government corruption in Putin's inner circle. Navalny's political organization said it has not confirmed his death, but his longtime chief of staff wrote on the social media platform X that if Navalny is dead, the story is, quote, Putin killed Navalny. International correspondent Julia Chapman, who spent several years reporting from Moscow, joins us now from London. Julia, what more can you tell us?
We've been hearing a bit more detail in the last hour about the final days, as they seem to be, of Alexei Navalny. We understand that on Wednesday, the last time his lawyers had access to him, that he was put into a special punishment cell for breaking prison rules, apparently for the 27th time. That was a frequent occurrence for Navalny, who tried to unionize his fellow prisoners at the Arctic prison. He had been a thorn in the side of the prison officials, but always tried to maintain his positive outlook. And that was on display as well just yesterday when he made a virtual court appearance. He was joking and laughing at the judges, according to a video that is circulating on social media. But we understand that this morning he went for a walk inside the prison grounds. He became unwell and quickly lost consciousness. The prison service says that medical workers did attempt to resuscitate him, but they were unable to do so. His political team is flying a lawyer to the Arctic prison colony to try to verify the death. We've heard, as you say, from the Kremlin, but still so far no word from Yulia Navalny's wife, who we understand is currently attending the Munich Security Conference in Germany.
All right, international correspondent Julia Chapman, thank you. Jamil Jaffer is the founder and executive director of the National Security Institute at George Mason Law School. Good morning to you. What were your first thoughts when you heard this news, in particular the manner in which they said that he passed away, felt unwell, and then almost immediately lost consciousness?
Good morning, Alex. I mean, it's exactly the same thing we saw when Vladimir Putin tried to poison Alexei Navalny the last time in 2020 with Novichok. You know, it gives the appearance that you're sick, that you're not feeling well, that something's going wrong with your health, when in fact what's actually happening is you're being poisoned and killed by a brutal dictator in Vladimir Putin. And this once again just shows Vladimir Putin's willingness to do whatever it takes to maintain his hold on power in Russia, and frankly the fragility of his hold on power, the fact that he's afraid of a man who he's had in jail for a number of years and who he moved just this past December to a prison near the Arctic Circle.
Jamil, listen, it's certainly sad news that he is gone, and he waged an incredibly brave fight and cheated death more than once. But it's Russia. It's Putin's Russia. It's not a real justice system. It's not a real election. When Putin wins 98% of the vote, people go, oh, that's great. So the death is just another reminder that Russia is still Russia and Putin is still Putin. So does this move the needle at all in any way, or is it just another in a long list of Putin enemies who die?
Well, Rob, it's a great question. I mean, look, you see a movement here in the United States among some Republicans and in the conservative movement with Tucker Carlson going to Moscow to interview Vladimir Putin to sort of rehabilitate Putin and his Russia. This idea that Tucker Carlson goes to a Soviet, supermarket and says, oh, look, prices are cheaper here. It's ridiculous. And this just once again shows that Vladimir Putin's Russia is, as you say, a one-party, one-man state, and not something that anybody in the West or in a democratic country, particularly here in the United States, should be supportive of, and the one that we should oppose, and one that our Congress and the White House should come together and fund the defense of Ukraine. Once again, we just see the brutality and the falseness of the Vladimir Putin narrative that was trumpeted on American airwaves just last week.
Our international correspondent last hour said that the opposition movement in Russia is changing and is almost completely non-existent. Do you think that movement goes away with Alexei Navalny?
You know, I don't know if it goes away, but it's certainly weakened. And Vladimir Putin knows this. He knows that Navalny, even in a prison outside of Moscow like he was for the last couple of years, or a prison near the Arctic Circle, is a figure that can galvanize opposition in Russia. Now, that being said, he's not the only one. We saw what Vladimir Putin did to one of his closest allies who turned against him on that march to Moscow. He apparently, passed away in a mysterious plane accident. These are not coincidences. It's not coincidence that Russian dissidents fall out of windows and off of balconies in London. This is a concerted effort by Vladimir Putin to take out his enemies. And while some may read this as strength on Vladimir Putin's part, the truth is the fact that he feels the need to take these people out demonstrates that he is worried about his hold on power. He recognizes the war in Ukraine is not going well. This is exactly why now is the time for the West to double down on Ukraine and to give them what it takes to win, not just what it takes to fight to a stalemate.
All right, you've dipped your toe into American politics, so let's go all the way, my friend. I mean, if nothing else, in terms of why Americans waking up should care about this story, is that because this story is a reminder of what Putin is capable of and what kind of country that he runs. At a time where Trump is saying, I'll let Russia do whatever the hell they want to do if the NATO countries aren't paying up. The relationship between Trump and Putin has always been mysterious, and unlike every other American president, it's a time when Congress can't get Ukraine aid through, and when that war is not going well for Ukraine or for Russia, and just seems to be stuck as people continue to die. So it is relevant to us to be reminded who Putin is, and then what our relationship may look like with that country, depending on who's in the Oval Office in January. So connect these two events in that sense, please.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, what is happening in Ukraine and what is happening here in this country are not disconnected. The fact is that Vladimir Putin sees the United States as weak under Joe Biden and under Donald Trump, as he has for now 15 years. The United States has not demonstrated global leadership. Yes, we put in some weapons into Ukraine. We've tried to help them fight to a stalemate, but we haven't given them what it takes to win. And the truth is that Russia and China and Iran and North Korea are increasingly working together. We see Iranian drones in Ukraine supporting the Russians. We see the Russians sending technology to Iran. We see China. We see President Xi and Putin coming together, and President Xi saying to Putin, the world is changing. We're seeing changes like the world hasn't seen in 3 decades. And we, Putin and Xi, are doing this together. That alliance of globally repressive nations is the biggest challenge that's facing America in the next 15, 20 years. And the sooner we wake up to that reality, it's Russia, China, Iran, North Korea together, and that we need to combat them at all costs. The American people need to understand that. And this isn't about Donald Trump. It's not about Mitch McConnell. It's not about Joe Biden. This is about America and our role in the world. And frankly, look, if we don't do this, we're going to be at more risk, not less, because these opponents will continue to push us and push us, and we'll end up in a bigger war in the long run.
Jamil, it is about Biden and Trump, because they're running for the president as two very different men with two very different postures against Russia. That's a great line in a speech. That's not the way the world works. You know damn well there's a difference between having a Putin enemy and a Putin ally in the Oval Office. Let's be honest.
Well, Rob, I don't disagree. We do not want anybody who supports Vladimir Putin in the Oval Office, and that's part of why, you see this fight within the Republican Party about what to do. It's not one side. You see the Senate just passed both aid for Ukraine and for the border and for Israel. It's now up to the House Republicans to back that. They control the House, albeit by only 2 votes. They ought to take up that bill and pass the Senate-passed bill. And frankly, both the White House and Congress ought to do more, because the current set of aid only allows Ukraine to fight to a stalemate. Ukraine needs to win this war and take it to Russia. It's better for us, for the Ukrainians to fight Russia, than it is for us to fight them force on force. That is what the opportunity here is about. We should take it, and we should take advantage of that opportunity. There's no doubt, Rob, you're right. We do not want a Putin ally in the White House, nor do we want a Putin allies in Congress. That is ridiculous.
All right, Jamil Jaffer, founder and executive director of the National Security Institute at George Mason Law School. As always, good to see you, and thanks for coming on the show.